My name is Cameron Henderson, and for my cultural report, I interviewed my friend Andre Lainez. His parents are first generation immigrants from El Salvador. He's El Salvadorian as well, but he was born in Nashville. Um, I got to know him growing up, and he moved in to the house next to me in 2003, and I was born in 2001, so I've known him for basically my whole life. I haven't got to see him since I moved to college, really on and off here at Christmases and there, but it was really good to go back and interview him and really ask him about the ins and outs of his culture. Um, like I said, I was 2 when I met him, and when he was born in 2003, but we kind of had a deep connection ever since. I remember us not really being able to talk, but still being friends. My mom told me this story. I must have been 3 or 4, and Andre was 1 or 2, and my parents left the front door open, and we're sitting around the TV eating dinner. Maybe my parents were I don't remember, but Andre comes crawling in with a sippy cup, and it was kind of this big ordeal, but that's kind of how it's always been. He's opened his doors to me, and we've opened our doors to him and his family. And it's been a really healthy dynamic between our 2 families. I've known him his whole life, and I've been over at his house like all the time. His parents are very welcoming. He's very welcoming. It was really a gratifying experience to go deeper into his culture and ask him some more things. Andre was born in 2003, and so which makes him 19 now, I believe, as of October. It's kind of crazy. We've known each other for that long, and I'm 21 now, and he's 19. Some of the biggest parts of his culture that he, shared with me that I got to experience growing up were the language. He speaks Spanish, but every time I'd go over to Andre's house, I'd see Andre's mom. She might be cooking or just hanging out in the house, but she would always say hello to me and try her best. She didn't speak very good English, but it was very gratifying to see that she would put in the effort to, greet me and make me feel welcome. And I would try to do my part to say, hola to her and make her feel very warm and welcome as well, because, she was opening her house and cooking for me and, offering me all these nice things as, good gestures. Andre was telling me that his language is Spanish, but he does use a sort of a Spanish slang because he knows both English and Spanish. It's kind of Spanglish, and they use that around the household. He told me most of the time with his family, he speaks strictly Spanish, but when they do go out into public, that's not at their house, they like to speak English just so it's easier for other people to understand. I've picked up a few things here and there. Yeah, I was over there quite a bit growing up, every other day for 18 years, basically. So I picked up a handful of things and their slang and stuff like that. So the biggest thing and most interesting thing for me is if you speak 2 languages, what language do you think in was the biggest question for me. And Andre told me it depends on who he's talking to. So most of the time, he thinks in sort of a Spanglish mix of both. But when he's talking to his parents, he thinks in Spanish, and when he's maybe at school or at his job, he thinks in English, which that really took me for a loop because I only think in English. So it's really kind of baffling to me. It's cool that I think about all the cultures. If somebody knows 14, 15 languages, which is capable. I wonder what language they speak in, or what language they think in. So that was really interesting to me. Like I said, going in over to Andre's house, Andre's mom would always, say hi to me, and then a lot of times she would offer me food. And maybe the first or second time, once I started gaining consciousness, around 8 or 9, really understanding what it meant. What her food, it was a gesture to me. She was welcoming with her food. So maybe once or twice growing up, I would might have said no to the food, but Andre told me say yes to the food. And that's something that stuck with me. I used to be kind of a picky eater, but Andre's mom and his dad and his family have kind of opened me up to a wide array of El Salvadorian food. Some of the best food that I've tried, number one is pupusas. So it's basically a flour tortilla. It's kind of a tortilla mixed with a dough, and it's kind of like formed into a ball. And then you press your thumb into the ball, and you pack it with cheese, beans. They call it chicharron, which is kind of a meat, bean paste kind of mixture, and you mix it together. Sometimes they add extra stuff, vegetables, but most of the time they were just making it with, meat, cheese, and beans. And they flatten them, and they throw them on the skillet. And Andre's mom was always making these, weekly. She even sold them sometimes. So it was a really cool experience to, she'd always offer me one every time I went over. It was really awesome. Another thing they used to make was fried plantains, which is basically like a fried banana. And it's kind of more of like a dessert thing, but they're also really good. I used to really enjoy going over to Andre's house whenever, birthday parties were going on. I got to experience, almost all of Andre's birthday parties growing up. They're really fun, a lot more fun than, the typical white birthday party, in my opinion. Andre would always have a lot of his family members over, a lot of his friends, and typically at the birthday parties, I'd be the only white person, but I would feel very warm and welcome. People would offer me food, the music, the dancing, everything kind of fell into order, and it was really a welcoming environment. One of the things I really remember were at the birthday parties was the piñatas. It was a big tradition. I've never had a birthday party or that had a piñata, so it was really cool to, 18 years consecutively, it was cool to be a part of that. Some of the biggest things that Andre said that he liked about his culture and his birthday parties in particular were the parties, and not just the parties but the dancing and the music. He told me that they do both. They take a kind of a mix of their culture when it comes to dancing and music. They take both El Salvadorian and Mexican genres and artists, and they kind of fuse them together. They listen to both. His favorite form of dancing, he told me, was a bachata, which is kind of a fast dancing with really intricate moves, and you use a lot of your hips and your feet very quickly. Growing up, Andre, showed me a lot of his culture, and I really wish that he always offered to teach me how to dance, but I never really got into it. So I wish, I would have taken the time to, learn some more of his culture.